I'm hot, I'm sexy, my IQ is 375, and we've got more Warhammer 2 news on the way. Everything is awesome, and we just got confirmation that a new Legendary Lord will be dropping alongside the pre-Christmas Festag DLC before the end of the year. That isn't crazy news in and of itself. I mean, we've had free content in almost every update dating back to like 2016, but it does help fuel speculation a bit, because we got some details to help narrow it all down, and we can use this opportunity as a bit of a vehicle for projections on the near future of Mortal Empires, in particular, what we might be seeing out of the final DLC in the year of our Lord 2019. So what we do know at the moment is that the Greenskins are getting their rework sometime in the first half of 2020, and by extension, that means the High Elves will be getting their Lord Pack then as well. Prevailing opinion is, of course, and I think the most logical option overall, is that for crossover content, Grom the Paunch versus Altharion the Grim will be battling it out on the coast of Eastern Ulthuan, but we won't be seeing that for the next 6 or 7 months at least. Before we get to that point, we'll be turning our attention to the holidays as the snows of winter fall, and another Lord Pack drops in late November or early December of this year. And because we just got the Empire vs. Lizardmen, setting the stage for cross-game Lord Packs in general, I do expect the next to fit into that same mold as well. High Elves vs. Greenskins next year means there are 2 Game 1 and 2 Game 2 races left, Vampire Counts and Dwarfs and Skaven and Dark Elves. We have confirmation from CA Rich that Vampire Counts won't be getting touched for quite a while, so that leaves the Dwarfs as the only Game 1 race likely to be updated anytime soon. So like my boy Italian, I'm expecting to see Dwarfs vs. Skaven Lord Pack sometime in the next several months. Yes, it is entirely possible we get a Dark Elves vs. Skaven DLC, one that is purely Warhammer 2 based, but I don't really expect it. I think it doesn't make much sense to release the first of likely 4 Lord Packs as a crossover between Game 1 and Game 2, and then immediately abandon that idea and go back to Game 2 only DLC. I think we will get 4 crossover Lord Packs, each with the base races from Warhammer 1 versus the base races from Warhammer 2, and the information we have supports that conclusion. What's very interesting to me though is the curious case of Greyseer Thanquol. Alongside Malice Darkblade, those two are by far the most conspicuous and strange exclusions in the trilogy thus far. Both of them easily in the top 10 most iconic characters in the history of the setting. And both are Lord choices in their most recent army books as well. So going off the news we got today, the Skaven will not be getting a free Lord with the Festag DLC, things are getting really weird. I personally think Thanquol makes the most sense as a DLC Lord. It would be CA's best chance to do the character justice, to truly flesh out some unique mechanics and make Bone Ripper the legendary creature he deserves to be, and that if he comes as a free Lord, his kit might not end up being as exciting or interesting as it possibly could be. But a lot of people seem to think that he won't be the headlining Skaven Lord come the end of this year at all, that Throt the Unclean, the master mutator of Clan Moulder and his Frankenstein abominations, will gobble up that honor. I think that's actually pretty likely. Throt would make an amazing Legendary Lord, especially in Mortal Empires where he would begin his playthroughs in Hell Pit, right on the edge of Kislev and Norska, isolated from the other Skaven clans, and in a fantastic position to ravage the lands of men. Brood Horrors, giant pox rats, packmasters, and the creatures of Clan Moulder make for a fantastic and thematic addition to the trilogy for sure. Checks all the boxes, you won't hear any complaints from my side. But if he does come, and no free LC Skaven Lord drops alongside him, then that still leaves Thanquol out in the cold, which might actually be a very good thing. Hear me out, if Greyseer Thanquol does not come in Game 2, I honestly think that's a very good sign that Creative Assembly has something truly special planned for him, and for Mortal Empires races in Warhammer 3. I think any evidence we have whatsoever of CA showing interest in revisiting Lords from previous games, that their base game races were in previous games, I think that's honestly a good thing, because it means they're continuing to improve the races and content even when they've been out for a very long time. They've obviously shown interest in that before, but to say tackle Greyseer Thanquol in Warhammer 3 means the Skaven are getting even more love, and it's being spread out throughout the entirety of the trilogy instead of one big content drop and then never getting anything again. So with Thanquol and Bone Ripper, whose 8th edition design I absolutely adore, minus a few color palette swaps I would make to make it more steampunk and not quite so Space Marine, holding on to this legendary character until Game 3 tells me they're really gonna ball out with them. Ball out with Storm Fiends, Warp Flayer Gauntlets, Scatterfire Weapon Teams, Vermin Lords, and add that Armageddon flair to firmly put the cherry on top an already insane roster. And then that opens the door for more end times units that I'd really like to see. Putrid Blight Kings, Glotkin, the whole shebang. Talked about that stuff before. And then for the Dwarfs, my vote would go to Malachi the Slayer Engineer, the mind responsible for the unsinkable Ironclad, which sank, and the undestructible airship, which self-destructed, and then his Spirit of Grungni Thunderbarge, which is his most current addition, which is a very powerful Zeppelin that blows everything into the next dimension. Would be an incredible addition to the game, and fits the theme of how Dwarf Elite units should function very, very well in my opinion. The higher tier you get, the better the armor, and the more impressive the technology. I'm gonna be honest, even though Runic Guardians and Rune Golems are a part of Dwarf lore, they stopped functioning millennia ago, and more importantly, I don't think monstrous units fit very well with the Dwarfs in terms of playstyle or thematics in general. I don't really think we need the Dwarfs rolling around with autonomous Gundams the size of trolls and giants, especially considering how dedicated the Dwarfs are to killing monsters with the Slayer cult. So rocking monsters alongside, even if they are autonomous and not actually living organisms, doesn't sit super well with me. I wouldn't get super mad if I saw them get added, but I think there are better additions. And it's the same reason I think Shard Dragons are stupid. They spent the entire War of Vengeance killing dragons. They don't need to be utilizing any breed of dragons themselves. I don't think it fits very well with the lore. Not all pieces of Warhammer Fantasy lore are created equal. So, the Thunderbarge does fit their thematics though. That's why I want it. It's a Zeppelin gunship with overwhelming range firepower, and I think that fits the Dwarfs to a T. So I'd love to see that as the attention grabber and that headlining unit for the Dawi, alongside Demon Slayers, a Slayer hero, and Goblin Hewers with Malachi, the Dwarf Slayer Engineer, rocking them all alongside. Unfortunately though, I do think Thorak Ironbrow as the Master Rune Lord of Karak Azul is more likely than Malachi, certainly more quote-unquote famous in lore, but he's also a lot more boring. Even if they do massively rework how runes function, which I certainly think they should do anyway, so we get much more exciting effects and visuals than the ones we currently have in game, I just don't see him being a game-changing lord or a playstyle-changing lord in any shape or form, in any capacity whatsoever. Same with Khazador Dragonslayer. Neither one gets me super excited, even though they are probably the most iconic dwarfs that have not been added to the game yet. So, considering the short turnaround on this DLC, I'm not sure I'm going to be blown away no matter what Creative Assembly does. This is going to be by far the shortest gap in between two DLCs in Warhammer 2 since launch, so it should be interesting, but I'm going in with kind of reserved expectations because there isn't going to be a lot of time to create whatever they're making for this particular one. I would love to be proven wrong though. So I guess the question is, who do I think the Free Lord will end up being? Well, if it's Dwarfs vs Skaven in December and High Elves Greenskins next year, that leaves Dark Elves and Vampire Counts as the final two races in a head-on-head Lord pack. I fully expect to see Malice Darkblade headlining the Dark Elf side, so I would rule him out for the free LC slot already. And for the Vampire Counts, you guys know very well who I want. Neferata, the first vampire of ancient Lamia. And yet, just as with Thanquol, I think there's a very good argument there to be made that she should be held until Warhammer 3. And if we don't see her in a Lord pack anytime in the next year, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Silver Pinnacle will be on the Game 3 map. It is a perfect location to add a legit vampire faction to a campaign that will house the Ogres, Demons, Kislev, and Chaos Dwarfs, and she could come alongside Nagash as the Morthark of Blood for that spicy undead presence. If Neferata does not match up against Malice Darkblade, it's kind of impossible to guess who it will be. The Dark Elves and Vampire Counts don't have much interaction in the lore, and certainly don't have any iconic rivalries, so CA could resurrect or summon whoever the hell they want, and probably make it work. Of the powerful Vampire Lords remaining that have not been added to the game yet, Wasorin and Zacharias the Ever-Living represent the Necrarch bloodlines, Abarash and Wallach Harkin represent the Blood Dragons, and Usharan is the name Strigoi. I think any of those lords are possible, but Neferata is obviously my first choice. Can't deny how sick it would be to run a Blood Dragon campaign out of Blood Keep near the Grey Mountains though. I think both Wallach Harkin and Abarash are amazing characters, and I would jump on the opportunity to play either one of them. Now, we have had free LC lords that weren't a part of either faction in race packs before. Lokir Felhart came with Vampire Coast, Isabella von Karstein came with Make War Not Love, Morgor the Shadowgrave and Tretch Craventail also followed that trend, and it wasn't their race's turn to shine when they finally made it into the game. It will be a Game 2 Vortex compatible Lord, whoever this free LC Lord will be, so my bet is going to go to Emmerich of Calidor. I have no idea. There's very little to go off here, but it will be a year and a half since the last Azure Lord come November, so that guess is as good as any. Dragons and Dragon Princes in Val's Anvil will be a lot of fun. One of my favorite Mixu's Lord Pack editions, especially when he's riding his famous Star Dragon Midnight Aethnir, and he'd actually be the only High Elf Legendary Lord with access to a dragon, if you can believe that. Now, where do these cross-game Lord Packs leave the Wood Elves and Beastmen? Well, not in a very good place, honestly. I do think one day we will see content for them, but it may end up as part of free updates during Warhammer 3, which is nice to an extent. I love free updates as much as the next guy, but the problem that leaves us with is that the Beastmen need a lot more love than a single free update could ever possibly provide them. It's not just their campaign mechanics or playstyle, it's their unit roster, and you're not going to be getting more Lords and units like the Gorgon, Doombull, Jabberslythe, and a campaign overhaul all in a free update. It does make me a bit nervous for their future, but then again, I've been nervous for them since 2016, and nothing has changed, so all we can do is be patient and, like Wolverine, lay in bed and pet pictures of our long-lost lovers. One day, Gorgon, I swear it, you shall rise like a phoenix from the ashes, my beautiful Gorgon. And for the Wood Elves, well, they've had 2 Lords since launch back in late 2016, so that's a very long-ass time, and they've still not gotten any more Lords. They, I think, could be covered more easily in free LC with a rework to Amber and getting 1 or 2 additional Lords, but again, we will have to see what happens. Big things popping for sure over at Horsham HQ. Looking forward to seeing these reveals that are on the way, and there are going to be a lot of them over the next several months, and hopefully sooner rather than later, an announcement for Total War Warhammer 3, the big kahuna, what we are all really waiting for. Let me know what you guys think about the upcoming Festag DLC, which Legendary Lords you expect to see headlining those race packs, those Lord packs, and I will see you all in the next video. Andy Pride, signing out for now. Have a good one, guys.